anything tell us it could happen?
Friends,
So much hope.
loved ones, family members, friends, we're here to recognize the briefest spark of life. Something that is laid to rest, was ultimately not viable. The Kevin Durant trade rumor. It was born June 30th, 2022, and was pronounced dead.
54 days in most southern states. That's a living thing.
Oh my God!
Live in my heart.
This is so. I think the funeral's over.
Abort.
Get out of here. I'm gonna do another. Let me give us a little more content. It, while existed, it inspired, it carried numerous. It inspired so much
Podcast
in
platforms.
such a short amount of time.
What else would we have talked about?
And now it's gone.
I was just getting warmed up.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We barely knew you. R.I.P. Kevin Durant. Trade rumor. All right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. I'm here right now, a visibly grieving and disconcerted Chuck Anderson,
Yeah.
and also with mascara streaked down his tear-soaked face, John Burr.
Paint it black, boys.
All the hope is gone.
John, our team, the Memphis Grizzlies, briefly, we had a seat at the table.
Did we?
We were mentioned as like a contender for the services of Kevin Durant. I pinched off two podcasts, no less than two podcasts about it.
Interesting
During the brief window when
the loaf maker,
when Grizzlies were primary, we were planning to record, and then ended up not being able to record. We had to abort the recording.
Yeah,
Tuesday, and during that time, all of a sudden, like, hey, guess what? Kevin Durant, he's actually going to reportedly.
So, Keith, emotionally, where are you that we didn't record yesterday and discuss this at length? Relief or disappointment?
I don't know.
It could have broke while we were recording.
There was a window.
It would have broken.
There was a window where that content was steaming hot.
Yeah,
and people were coming for it. And they wanted it.
I think Keith missed his morning constitutional.
A lot
today.
of. Let's talk about coffee.
I'm just letting those fly by. That's for the listener to pick up.
Well, you're on a streak.
I am on a streak.
If you start talking about Viking longships entering water, I'm going to step away from the pod.
There was a window where this was the top content of hey, today it's the Grizzlies' turn to talk about the Kevin Durant thing. And if we had been recording when it came out like that, the Nets had made up. The Nets released a statement that they're going to continue this quote partnership, whatever that means. What do you think happened in that meeting between Kevin Durant, Rich Kleiman, Joe Tsai, Sean Marks, and Steve Nash?
So, do you guys remember in Breaking Bad the scene where Jesse comes over to dinner?
I don't because I watched Better Call Saul to completion, and they kept doing scenes with the Breaking Bad characters, and I'm like, have I seen this before?
Okay,
so let me know what's happening right now.
Let me tell you what happened. Yeah, yes. So Walt and his wife, Skylar, were at odds. They were, in the untenable truce where they both hated each other, but they couldn't get rid of each other.
One was a murderous felon.
One was a murderous felon, and one
there was played by Bryan Cranston. I'm just kidding. I feel like I had to make that joke, even though it's not true. Sorry.
But they, for some reason, they end up having Jesse Pinkman come over.
Okay.
And he's sitting between Skylar and Walter while they're just seething quietly at one another.
Yeah.
And effectively, that's what happened at this dinner. Rich Kleinman, I would assume, is Jesse Pinkman. Because he knows he can't help his client any more than he's helping him right now.
Okay.
And Durant was the miserable genius who couldn't be helped, and Josiah was Skylar, the person that had really all the power, but wasn't really there.
So let's take this analogy to its conclusion. And so Kevin Durant goes out in a blaze of glory. Is that what happens in this situation? The last man standing is actually Pinkman? I
think yeah, okay. That's it.
Yeah, all right.
And he drives off in an El Camino.
What do you think? What was the conclusion? What was the thing that helped them repair this bridge? Was it just looking at the landscape and being like, hey man, to trade you to any of these teams, they have to send back the good people, and if you go to Memphis, guess what? Your buddy Steven Adams is not going to be there anymore. Also, maybe the reason they're good on defense, Jaren Jackson Jr. is not going to be there. If you get traded to the Suns, hey, none of the good players are going to be there. It's going to be you and Chris Paul. Is that what you want? Or was it something else? John, what do you think was the thing that forced him to reconcile?
I feel like he nuked his own trade value.
100%.
And that's all. And that. I
mean, that's the story to this whole thing.
Yeah, he destroyed himself with the information that was ended up being leaked, and just nobody can.
It's like, hey,
how do you trade for someone like
Kevin?
This?
Are you seeing the internet today? Are you seeing the content that Keith Parrish has created? They're talking about trading for you and not including Jaren Jackson Jr. Are you seeing these teams saying Brandon Ingram is off the table?
I mean,
you see this?
I saw crazier. If you look at fan stuff, like fans didn't want to trade anything for him. And then furthermore, what GM in their right mind trades for a guy who will go to his owner and demand that you were fired?
Yeah. Which GMs are like, hey, the guy who's firing all the GMs, I want to get him on my team. That sounds fun.
I'm very relieved we didn't record yesterday, because I think you would have been frustrated with my just. It wasn't a thing to me that Kevin Durant was coming to the Grizzlies. It was just, it was kind of annoying. Like, I really don't like being like as a fan being used as a pawn in these things. It's
you can tell we're being played with a little bit. We're being teased. I never entertained it really. I basically was trying to be the realist, being like, these are the things you have to include. And then it's a fun mental exercise. The mental exercise I was doing, which actually I wanted to talk to you guys about yesterday. I'm going to do it. I'm going to force it through, even though the situation is over. Because everyone's like, oh yeah, the Grizzlies don't want to give up Jaren Jackson Jr. What are the over-unders on All-Star game appearances in the next 10 years for Kevin Durant and Jaren Jackson Jr.? Like, Kevin Durant's over-unders for All-Star games, it's like 2.5, right?
How old is he?
Like 34,
37,
33.
Wasn't Dirk
only 33?
Didn't Dirk make All-Star games?
Yeah. Kevin Durant's 33. So yeah, Durant's making an All-Star probably 7.
4 more.
I probably messed this up. Legitimate. How about so let's say Kevin Durant.
You need to set it at 15 or something.
Yeah, Kevin Durant's over under. We'll put it at like 4.5. And like, what's Jaren's? 0.5?
I think Jaren's playoffs set him back a couple of years in the All-Star conversation.
I don't even think people. So you're saying that as a Grizzlies fan who is informed and knowledgeable?
Yeah.
I don't even run into other Grizzlies fans whose takeaway from the playoffs was like, hey, Jaren was really bad on offense. Like, really?
So I feel
Jaren gets a free pass. I mean, Jaren's.
I feel like most NBA fans,
defense, so
they know. They remember the playoffs more than anything else.
Yeah.
So like this guy that you and I talked up as a potential All-Star, and that was starting to get pub, that if they tuned into that, they might just be like, whoa, that guy sucks.
If you read Jaren Jackson Jr., I've actually done this game with Grizzlies experts. If you read Jaren Jackson Jr.'s stats from the Warriors series,
and
you're like, hey, who shot who was 5 for 18 from the field in the final
you
game that
think
really
it's
killed him.
Dylan.
Everyone's
Yeah,
like, "Oh, Dylan Brooks, man."
yeah.
No. Dylan scored 30. Jaren was, whatever he struggled. That's interesting. No,
I mean, I feel like Desmond Bain, on the strength of his playoffs, has a better chance of making an All-Star team than Jaren Jackson Jr. So yeah, I think 0.5 is a pretty good number.
Yeah, I mean, and so then it becomes,
I might take the under.
yeah. Then it becomes you wouldn't trade Jaren Jackson Jr. for 2 years of Kevin Durant, even it's only 2 years of peak Kevin Durant. Like I got to tell you, my reaction was always I actually don't want to. Something about just the thing that maybe the grass is not always greener. It's like we get 8 years of Jaren. That sounds fun over 2 years of maybe a minimum of 2 years over Durant or something.
As a Grizzlies fan, it's kind of a frustrating thing to even discuss because it's like if we're going to talk about trade and trade chips, I feel like D'Anthony Melton was a way better trade chip than we had than the guys we have now.
That was if we were going to trade for Kevin Durant this offseason, Melton has more trade value than David Roddy. And such. By the way, Jaren was 5 for 19 in the game 6 loss. In the game 4 loss, 7 for 21. In the game 3 loss, 4 for 13. Sorry, no one talks about this. It's fine.
Zoinks. I feel like they do. A lot of people that I've had kind of espoused the virtues of Jaren to were like, "What are you talking about, man?"
Well, I mean, the
guy looks like he can't play.
The common thing among like Grizzlies optimists when it's like, "Oh, we got rid of Kyle Anderson and D'Anthony Melton; those guys didn't show up in the playoffs," and it's like, "Did you see Jaren Dillon Tyus against the Warriors? Wasn't great."
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm getting honestly lightheaded with this much basketball talk before we have our breakfast. Gentlemen, what have we had for breakfast? Chuck, what was your breakfast?
My breakfast sucked this morning, but this weekend,
okay,
I did a bang breakfast. Bang. My
double brain.
It was a brunch. It was supposed to be I was supposed to go get brunch. But we were brunching at the famous East Nashville staple, I Dream of Weenie.
Yes.
Right. And I never leave I Dream of Weenie full because 2's not enough. 3's too many. You can't have 3 loaded hot dogs. And they do an Eggs Benny hot dog. They do a French toast hot dog. But before I went to I Dream of Weenie, I went to Gorilla Biscuits. Shout out Gorilla Biscuits. I had a vegan buffalo sausage sandwich.
Nice.
With their biscuit, and the actual biscuit had buffalo sauce in it. It was triple buffalo. Buffalo in the biscuit dough.
Buffalo.
No buffalo
biscuit.
But no actual buffaloes were harmed. And actually, I think buffalo wings aren't made of real buffaloes.
I
have to look that up.
It's been a lot of verbiage.
I did.
Said together.
I went to Gorilla Biscuits, Buffalo Biscuits, banger. Then I went I Dream of Weenie. I had an Eggs Benedict weenie and a hash brown casserole weenie. And boy, those 2 things made my day and my beard. It made my day great. It made my beard a mess.
Were you there with someone who could keep an eye on your beard for you?
I always you cannot eat things like that without a beard spotter.
You gotta have a beard spotter. Yeah.
You gotta have somebody that you trust. They usually give a nonverbal cue, such as a nose tap or an ear tug, letting you know that you've got what looks like, some sort of, I don't want to.
Well, just anything, mustard,
like
buffalo sauce.
Yeah, anything. Yeah. But with an Eggs Benedict, it can look like there's
runny,
like placenta.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, it's good luck.
Yeah. John, what was your breakfast?
I'm going to steal a page from Chuck's book and talk about a breakfast I didn't have yesterday because I'm worried that McGoss is out of biz.
Oh no.
They took that long break, which I then found out was like
sign of a thriving business,
a regime change. Because when they came back,
it
wasn't like a bunch of hillbillies. It was like an Asian family.
Okay.
Everyone working there seemed to be related and was Asian. And, I'm still pumped. They still let me bring my Bojangles in there to eat before I eat my donut. God, I'm gonna be dead soon. But about a week later, I go on a work trip and then a vacation. I come back and they've been closed about 4 consecutive days.
Oh no!
I don't know if the regime change has gone over so well. So it may be the end of an era. We have to go all in on the snooze sponsorship pressure.
Well, so by the way, Chuck and I did eat at Snooze last week. Had a good bacon flight. Used the gift certificate they'd sent us. If you send us a gift certificate, any business, we will use it. If McGaugh's had said to you, John, we're struggling to stay in business. We need partners to buy in. What would you personally have paid to keep your favorite donut store open?
$1,000.
That feels about right. I mean,
that's a lot for me.
That's a lot of money.
Beginnings of a good GoFundMe.
That's like,
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of it, Chuck. Like the GoFundMe's, my usual staple of when I see someone I know in need, even though I don't know these new people. Yeah, this is just fat people. That's just like if you see, but on a GoFundMe, if you see like anonymous 1,000, that means okay, I really love this person. I'm trying to. If the anonymous 500, it means I'm giving you money. By the way, you.
if you guys on the internet out there see any GoFundMe and there's like an anonymous 5,000, that's me. Just so you know.
Oh yeah. Good plan.
Yeah,
good
all
plan.
The anonymous, any anonymous over about.
I will never understand the non-anonymous
so.
Thing though. It seems to like totally break the notion of a GoFundMe.
No, you
need to let people. This is all about
if
signaling.
A lot of it's virtue signaling. A lot of it you gotta you can have a tax write-off if you write podcast on there. You can pay $20 Fastbreak Breakfast pod. That's an ad. I just bought an ad. I'm sorry your home burned down, but I just purchased a $20 ad.
And subscribe.
I guess you would put your name to like try to pressure others into giving, maybe.
Social proof.
But then sharing
like
sharing on
sticker?
Social is supposed to encourage other people to give. No, the funding thing for like a donut store. Presumably, if you like, hey, I'll pitch in $1,000, they'd give you like, hey, that's worth half off for your next 5 years or something. Yeah, I don't know. Because I think of this. There was a store when I was in college. There was a store in Tennessee called Hastings.
Oh yes,
yeah. So this
Works
is
there.
Okay, this is a legendary store, and I'm sure there's similar stores across the nation.
Traded in a fortune worth of.
So this is media. Back in the day when you wanted to watch a movie, you could go to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, and it was like $3 to rent a movie. It was like, and that was like wow. Or then Hollywood Video was like, how about $1.99? Hastings had a wall of videos that was a quarter.
Yeah,
you can rent it for a quarter. New release might be 50 cents or 99 cents. And then they also had all this used stuff. You could trade in anything. They would give you store credit. When the store opened, they sent out coupons. It was like everything was free. It's like, come get a book, come get a movie, come get and I was like, this place is incredible because I never made any money. I was very broke, but also like, man, 25-cent movie rentals. I will do that every single day of the week. And I did. I watched every movie. Like I went through like, what movie have I not seen? I'm a 21-year-old dude. And I watched them all. But then one day, just like it had appeared, it vanished overnight.
Yeah.
Clearly their business model made no sense. Much like Movie Pass, although Movie Pass is coming back.
Yeah.
So
although the link they sent me in their email to announce they were coming back,
Movie
did
Pass
not work. Didn't work.
Sure. Probably a lot of heavy traffic there. No, and I thought back in the day, like I would have given Hastings my entire $220 of savings just to be like, listen, you know what? I owe you this for back pay. Like, I feel like I owe you this. I'm so far ahead on how cheap everything was at your store. I would have donated a lot to keep you going. And so there's things that go down and it's like, I wish you would have told me you needed that financial help. Cause man, honestly, I feel like I would have pitched in, but I'm sorry about McGoss, John. My breakfast, I had a raspberry scone. It was good, homemade. My wife made a gluten-free raspberry scone, and it was quite good. I'm confused because I'm an idiot. Don't know how to cook things. Chuck, you can definitely help with this.
I'm also an idiot.
Well, but you've cooked things and they taste good. I've had them. Like this raspberry, you're like, oh, this raspberry isn't good to eat. It'll work for.
I've heard someone
it'll work
call
for baking.
Chef like an episode of Bear once. I think I've heard people like turn to like in the food truck be like, "Here you go, chef."
I guess nope.
Well, if you employ people, you should make them call you chef.
No,
but like this concept of this fruit is not good to eat, but it'll be good for baking. Doesn't make sense to me. How does that work?
I'm not a baker, and I also don't eat a lot of fruit, so I'm not going to speak out of my depth. But
so baking is a science, cooking is an art, right, Chuck?
Yeah, like baking, cooking is more of like juggling, and baking is more of like building a house made out of playing cards, right? Like it takes exact precision, it takes patience. But yeah, I think the idea with bad fruit being able to be baked with is like, it's not bad as in you can't eat it and there's no flavor. It's just the texture isn't as
not great.
It's mealier. There's maybe just it's soft, it's squishy instead of crisp. So you could put it in a scone and make it a little less, a little more palatable than a fresh fruit with crunch and the banana game. You take the brown banana, you put it in the freezer, that becomes your banana bread. It still tastes like banana. It just you don't have to look at that brown thing when it's mashed up into your baking stuff.
Well, it turned out fine. It was a very tasty raspberry scone.
Sounds lit.
Anyway, those were our breakfasts. After our breakfasts, we moved to our breakfast in bed apologies. This is our chance to make right what we might have gotten wrong on a previous episode. It's frequently the first time we talk about the NBA, but I got dizzy earlier talking about Kevin Durant before we had our
those funerals they're not always the closure you're looking for.
It's not always.
Sometimes it rips the Band-Aid open.
Yeah, and sometimes you lose your appetite, but then I realized I needed some calories. Gentlemen, what things do we need to make right that we got wrong on a previous episode?
I'm sorry that due to missing the podcast yesterday, you won't get my whinging Kevin Durant rationalizations. As I slowly talk myself into.
Just pretend it's in. Just do them. Pretend like we're still, because again, I don't think we said it explicitly. This agreement that the Nets, hey, we're all on board. This is just building your trade value back. This is the only path to rebuild Kevin Durant's trade value is like, hey, listen, you played your hand and it failed. It was terrible. So
this reminds me of did you do this in your 20s? You have an unbelievable argument with a significant other, and then you're at the end of it, one of you mentions we should just get married.
Yeah, that's how I got married.
You go through you have such a huge, insane argument, and then at the end of it, you're like, let's have a baby. That'll fix it. We should get an apartment together.
Let's move
Why are you
in.
just making fun of Chuck to his face?
This is all literally things that happen.
I've seen those things happen in TV shows. Never me. No. Sorry.
Yeah. I bought a house with a woman I barely liked. Right. In order, because I have issues with people pleasing. Yeah.
Well, so John, let's pretend that now Kevin Durant is truly secretly on the table. He's actually, everyone knows he's still on the table. Give me your rationalizations for the hoops you would jump through, the things you would sacrifice.
Because I feel like Ja and KD are such an insurmountable scoring threat.
I mean, they'd be the two best.
We had so many, we'd have the best perimeter scorer and the best at the rim scorer on the same teams.
I mean, they would be the two. That's the two best. Is that the combination of the two best players in the NBA?
Yeah, and then
theoretically.
And our defense was so good that I feel like we could cobble together a usable defense, and I feel like that's better than having, an elite defense that maybe can't always score be the most efficient scoring team. So I feel like I could talk myself thusly into trading every player besides Ja Morant.
Okay.
Any combination, I feel like just that. And also, I've never had Ja Morant's my first superstar, and I am definitely high on my own supply.
Yeah.
Having two might just be the type of Chuck it Bonnaroo, like, yeah, sure, I'll put that up my butt. I'll do anything at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just kind of one of those. I don't know. I get too tantalized.
Chuck, is a Heat fan when this news broke, is this good or bad? Like there was some hope that Durant was maybe switching conferences. It wasn't like the favorite. It seems like the most likely outcomes were Celtics or Raptors or something, but
right. Well, for me, I think this is good news for the prospects of Miami getting Kevin Durant, because right now our best trade chip outside of Bam and Jimmy is Tyler Hero, and his value is pretty low considering his stinker in the playoffs, right? I can see a scenario where the value of some of Miami's players who aren't Bam and Jimmy getting pumped up a little bit by the franchise, maybe. And we see Victor Oladipo, averaging 22 points in the first half of the season.
Chuck, you have no trade chips. You can't even trade Jimmy Butler's $100 cup of coffee. I mean, it's not.
We can.
There's no trade chips for the Heat.
Right now, yeah, but you're asking for my based take. This is my ridiculous machinations.
Okay.
Don't poo-poo my fan mania. My thought process is
all right.
These two guys, this is the only hope, because you're not getting anything from Durant.
I can't believe you haven't mentioned Victor Oladipo scoring 40 points in the last game of the season.
I mean,
last regular season game, the 40
that Orlando performance was incredible. It was a revenge game.
Yeah.
But like the only way Miami gets Durant for anything short of Bam is if they have if players who aren't Bam have breakout seasons and their value jumps. So
I know
you
that
can't do that to the game start.
I asked to see the inside of your mind, and that's on me.
Yeah.
You should know better.
Well, what if Max Strus becomes an all-star? I hadn't considered that, Chuck. I'm sorry.
Right.
That could be the centerpiece of a Durant trade.
Do not forget, Chuck wants Caleb Martin to play over Jimmy Butler in key situations.
I think he stretches the floor a bit better.
He's your starting power forward. I mean,
looks like it right now.
I mean, if we go back to John's scenario, if the Grizzlies traded everything for Kevin Durant, then what could they get for Ja Morant to build around Kevin Durant?
Woo!
I'm just kidding. Hey, I have a
galaxy brain.
Honestly, I thought about wandering into the online arena of social media with that. I was like, if we traded Jaren Jackson Jr. and 5 picks for Kevin Durant, and then we had Bane, Dylan Brooks, Durant,
then you
and
trade
Steven
Ja
Adams,
for Jaren Jackson Jr.
Then what could we
picks?
trade for Ja Morant? We could build the best. No, I have a pronunciation / songwriting question. John, you're the expert. Do the last names Morant and Durant, are those perfect rhymes?
Absolutely.
Am I supposed to say, I know I say Morant. Am I supposed to pronounce it Morant? Or am I supposed to enunciate the Orant differently than the Urant? Like Durant, Morant? Am I doing that wrong, or is it just everyone we've accepted they're pronounced exactly the same? Durant, Morant.
I think because the emphasis is on the rant, you're safe.
Of course,
no matter what.
I definitely in a song it's safe, but I'm getting extreme.
You're talking about.
I'm talking Sondheim
couplets. You're talking about.
Yeah. I
pentameter.
need both syllables to be perfect.
I think the emphasis saves you, even if you're trying to write a sonnet, Keith. I think the emphasis saves you.
I just want to know pronunciation. Well, let's even ignore songwriting and sonnets. Pronunciation wise, Chuck, what do you think? Is there a subtle difference between the first syllable Morant or Morant? Is it Morant? Is this the best segment we've ever done now? I can hear it, and it sounds amazing.
Jeremy Grant.
I think the bad part, the really bad part of not getting Durant on the Grizzlies is the missed opportunity to combat. We would have the marquee matchup between Anthony Edwards, Ant-Man, and Durant and Morant.
Durant man.
The Ant-Men.
Ant-Man
versus Ant-Man.
How do you beat Ant with Morant, right?
With Morant.
Well, if you're talking about missed opportunities, the sheer fact that people as old as my father are telling me that the Grizzlies are too online, adding Kevin Durant might be the most online, painfully online
how do you guys
team in history.
I know we're from the South. Chuck, sort of.
I'm from Miami.
South Florida.
But how do you guys pronounce the words P-I-N and P-E-N? I pronounce them exactly the same.
Pen and pin.
Right. No, you pronounced it correctly, Chuck. It was beautiful. Wonderful enunciation.
Those are two different words.
I say pen and pin. I just say pen.
Pen and pen. Pen and teller.
Pen. Yeah. Pen and teller? Pen? Yeah.
Pen.
I make no difference. I don't differentiate.
It depends on my socioeconomic code switching interaction.
Oh,
of course.
Depends on with whom I'm concerting.
Yeah. Right. If you're at an independent wrestling event, it's pan. Right. Yeah. If you're trying to talk to a record label executive, you are dropping that regional diction.
Can I?
Yeah, I say quill actually.
Quill.
Yeah. I'll apologize for that segment. I'll also apologize for an error I made last week. I saw an NBA TV graphic. I was led astray that said that the Oklahoma City Thunder and Orlando Magic had no national TV games. Turns out I was wrong. They, in fact, as we found out on the episode with Tyler Parker last week, that the Magic and Thunder will play each other on TNT. So I apologize for getting some incorrect information out there to the listeners. I have found out how I was misled, but that's still on me. You know, I'm a professional. I can fact check these things, not just trust what the league tells me on their television network. So that's my bad. Chuck, do you have anything that you need to make right?
Yeah, once upon a time, you know, I was too big-brained trying to figure out how to fill the last roster spot for the Miami Heat, and I failed to recognize the value of Udonis Haslem. This was a while back. On this podcast, I have stated, why did we sign this old guy?
Yeah.
And then, like, the last 2 seasons happened, and it really clarified for me what his place is. Going back in history, some of the things that happened during the Big Three era, I think Udonis Haslem was the glue that kept that team from melting apart with the magnifying glass of the hate stream media filling the Miami airwaves. Everything was boo, boo, boo Miami, and UD held it all together. And now the man's coming back for his 20th season, an undrafted player coming to finish his career with a big round number, the third player in history to do 20 seasons with one team, joining Dirk and Kobe. And I just want to apologize for ever doubting the culture don, the god, Udonis Haslem. And I want to congratulate him on another season. And if you two poo-poo this, I'm leaving the show right now.
I fell asleep.
Yeah, good.
Wait, you promise?
Yeah, I promise. I'm leaving.
They also announced they're retiring his jersey.
They should do it league wide. It should be in every.
Chuck, do you know which jerseys are retired? Actually, let's do this. Let's do a game of scones. What's that song? Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, House of Dragon.
My timeline is ruined. House of Dragons.
Game of scones as of Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. Which jerseys have been retired? Which numbers have been retired by the Miami Heat organization?
Okay.
So which numbers are off the board? I guess, Sean, since you are not a Heat fan, do you want to go first or second?
I better go first.
Okay.
Alonzo Mourning?
According to my records, and again, I'm not sure this is accurate. According to my records, that is correct. Number 33.
Oh, you're just making this up?
I'm using a couple of websites that honestly don't look legit.
Okay. I'm going to go with Tim Hardaway.
Tim Hardaway, the number 10, is supposedly retired. Yes, that is correct. So Wikipedia is not sure about this morning. There we go. Yes. So we're going to count Alonzo Mourning. Tim Hardaway is correct. Back to you, John.
Glenn Rice.
That's incorrect. Glenn Rice is number 41, still being worn.
Was it worn by Udonis Haslem? Is he 40?
Yeah, yeah. Chuck, is Haslem 40? Is the 40 getting raised to the Raptors?
It's 40. He is number 40.
All
UD 40, like UB 40.
I love it. All right, that's a strike for John.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take it real easy and go Dwayne Wade.
Correct. Dwayne Wade, number 3 is.
I was worried that it hadn't happened.
These
yet,
are not. Again, I clearly said.
So I said Glenn
announced.
Rice.
You said Glenn Rice.
Right.
These have not officially happened yet. And we're not. Haslem's off the board. I'm not gonna let you say Haslem, but these haven't. These have all been announced as of today. These numbers are announced going forward. Back to you, John.
Ronnie Cycli. I'm so bad. This is bad.
No, you should think of better Heat players.
I mean, do you want me to just close it out?
Just close it out. Do a run.
Hold on. I don't have 3 strikes yet. Can I please?
All right. John
I
only
just
has 2
thought
strikes.
of one.
Back to you, Chuck. Back to you, Chuck.
Chris Bosh.
Chris Bosh, correct.
That's the one I thought of, so that's trouble.
Number 1 off the board.
All
right.
Shaq won a title there. Shaq.
Oh, what number?
Is correct. Good job, John.
32.
Correct.
There you go.
All right, back to you, Chuck.
And I know this is the whole point of Keith's stupid little game.
Oh, is it that Dan Marino?
No, it is the Michael Jordan 23.
Oh,
Michael Jordan 23.
That's
okay,
what
Kobe,
he wanted
Kobe then.
Well, so Michael Jordan is correct. There's still one more who apparently Dan Marino's number 13 was like semi-retired.
It was, I remember.
It's in the roster. It's in the wrap.
When I went, I saw the Dan Marino jersey.
Yeah. I can give you a correct answer for Dan Marino. There's still one more. Much like Michael Jordan, this player never played for the Heat.
All right, it's your turn, Chuck. So if you miss it,
it was announced less than a month ago.
Bill Russell.
Bill Russell. Yeah. The number 6.
Which is a low key like jab at LeBron, because that's the first number 6 that gets retired.
Well,
LeBron 6.
I'm sure that's what the league was thinking. Chuck, I felt like this was important. So like the number 6 being retired, LeBron obviously wears 6. A lot of players currently wear 6. Who, Chuck, to you is the greatest number 6 non-LeBron player in Miami Heat franchise history? I will give you the I'll give you your options. And John, we can do the Grizzlies one. The greatest number 6 are our nominees: Terry Mills, Harold Jameson, Eddie Jones, Mario Chalmers, and then Blake Ahern and Luke Jackson. So that's definitely an Eddie Jones. That's easy.
Eddie Jones he pooped in the playoffs from my recollections as a young man. But Eddie Jones was explosive.
Is Eddie Jones? Fun. Eddie Jones played way more seasons than LeBron James did on the Heat.
Oh, we had him forever. We stuck with that team for way too long. The Eddie Jones team after we traded Jones for Mashburn, and then Lonzo got sick.
I think Eddie Jones played on the Grizzlies.
So that's funny. So
number 6, right?
He was. So John, our decision is pretty tough. You have to
Bonzi or Mario, right?
It's Bonzi. I think it's Bonzi or Eddie Jones.
Okay.
They both played a similar amount of time.
I was a big Mario Chalmers fan.
So Mario Chalmers also wore 6 on the Grizzlies.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with just to piss you off, Shelvin Mack. I think Shelvin Mack.
That's incredible. I love that. Well, my first favorite Grizzlies player wore number 6. Answered as Fotis.
Okay.
And also, He was a Greek player who,
Say
by the
that
way,
name again?
Antonis Fotis.
I think
he was also unlockable on like the NBA Jam that came out like 10 years ago, playing for Panathinaikos or something. It was a very exciting moment for me.
Aren't there 2 Grizzlies players named Mac who had number 6? Because I remember that you could get a Shelvin Mack jersey, but it was actually, I don't remember the guy's name, but it was a different Mac.
Apparently there was a Sam Mack that played for the Vancouver Grizzlies.
Okay, yeah, because there was like a way to get a Shelvin Mack Vancouver Grizzlies jersey in a weird way. It wasn't really Shelvin Mack.
That's wild. No, I mean, I don't even know.
I'll say Bonzi.
I liked Bonzi Wells, but I looked at their stats and they're like identical. And they both started basically the same amount of games. And even Bonzi was 6-man. But
really, I thought Eddie was only there like a year. I guess Bonzi was only there 2.
I think that they both played 2 seasons. And it was 2 years of Bonzi, then 2 years of Eddie Jones. But anyways, we're all over the place. That
has to be for Chuck the equivalent of him talking about Udon for the 400th time. Bonzi talk.
I hardly
talk.
It is
August. 36 numbers.
I would say next week. We'll do greatest number 6 player for every franchise. That'll get us to September. That'll burn a week. Anyways, Grizzlies Nation, people in the Grizzlies area, check out the Grizzlies Regional Caravan. It is coming soon. There are stops in Little Rock, Arkansas, Jackson, Tennessee, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Also, of course, Nashville, Tennessee. If you're in the Nashville area, there's going to be a basketball camp on Saturday, September 17th with David Roddy and Xavier Tillman. It's free for kids ages 6 to 14, but you have to sign your kid up. Go to grizzlies.com/regional-caravan for those details. Also, September 17th, there's a Sounds game, a meet and greet to meet David Roddy and Xavier Tillman. So check out grizzlies.com, see the details of the regional caravan. All right, steak and eggs, best thing. What's the best thing you saw from the last week? Chuck, what's your steak and eggs?
Dennis Rodman, diplomat, baby. He's apparently has permission from the U.S. government to go and barter for Brittany Griner's release. Part of me feels like there's also the possibility that he is going on some like triple X Vin Diesel style covert operation where he, rides on a rope that's hanging from a helicopter and drops into a like ventilation shaft and crawls in and grabs her and leaves with Steve Harrington from Stranger Things. That's what I think could happen. But it may not. Who knows?
It is. I don't know. Like, my initial thought was similarly the movie Triple X. But also it's like that situation is so distressing and upsetting. And it's like, what are we doing here? I mean, more power to Rodman. But yeah, I mean, hopefully there can be, I don't know what's a good resolution. I mean, we all want to get Brittany Griner home, but the idea of like Rodman after his emboldened by his trip to North Korea.
I think they're just sending Rodman over to Russia, knowing he's going to be knowing that he will then be sentenced to 9 years just to get him out of our hair.
Yeah, he will have drugs on him all the time there. I don't know why he chooses to go to countries where possession of narcotics will put you in prison. But that's probably his kink.
Well, he lives in one. Chuck, I don't.
What does he live in? A prison?
In a country where possessions of narcotics will put you in prison?
Well, I mean, that's not if you're rich.
That is. Montrezl Harrell is currently a free agent. He's not in prison, but no one signed him to a contract for a marijuana arrest. Anyways, that was a depressing good thing. Thanks, Chuck. John, what's your steak and eggs?
The return. One of the most iconic jerseys of my childhood. The Phoenix Suns throwback is here, boys. Can't wait to get my Cam Johnson purple and orange Phoenix Suns throwback. Making me visions of Jeff Hornacek and Thunder Dan Marley dancing in my head.
So First of all, I would like to make a wager.
White basketball player.
I would like to make a wager on if you ever are available, or if you were ever able to get a Cam Johnson purple sunburst jersey.
No, I'm still waiting on my Desmond Bain Vancouver.
Yeah,
jerseys.
like this is unfortunate shades of the Grizzlies doing the Vancouver throwbacks. And there are certainly people who got their hands on a Ja Morant, but those all sold out immediately. And I don't think the Suns are printing up their 4th or 5th tier guys. Like you could get an Ayton, you can get a Booker, you can get a Chris Paul, but those are going to sell out. And then maybe a Mikal Bridges. Like the odds of a Cam Johnson when being printed up, no. The odds of
Torrey Craig.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Landry Shamet. The odds of like the
Shaman.
customizable ones, because this team, like they announced like, hey, we're bringing the jerseys back. Give us your info to get on the waiting list. And then 50 minutes later, it was like, until further notice, no jerseys are available.
It's like trying to get a PlayStation 5.
Yeah. It's also weird for me where I have loudly and publicly declared war against the Phoenix Suns. Like I've continually needle their fans. I don't like Devin Booker very much. I have luxuriated in their postseason collapses. But these jerseys, they make me feel a little bit something. Maybe I feel bad. I feel guilt. What is this feeling? You're
feeling the imagery of Charles Barkley taking a ball off of one rim, rolling down the court and putting it down other rim.
These
you can't help it.
These jerseys were from an era where the Suns were my favorite team. Where they were absolutely 100% my favorite team. This is like, it's not only Barkley, it even bleeds into like some Jason Kidd time, like Kevin Johnson. I mean, Cedric Ceballos, Gugliotta, Rex Chapman, Wes Person. Like, I love these teams. And then like going into like the Nash and Stoudemire and Sean Marion. Like Sean Marion was one of my favorite players for years. And like seeing this jersey, I'm like, oh, there was a solid decade. Like before the Grizzlies were in Memphis, like this was my favorite team. And so I feel like I also like you, John. I'm like, I wouldn't mind having a Cam Johnson Suns jersey. So I feel weird. Maybe I should declare a truce on the Suns. Now they have these awesome jerseys. I don't know. My best thing is a triumph of the commoner over the billionaire elite ruling class. It is the Portland Trailblazers, in a cost-cutting move, had announced they were not going to send their broadcast team on the road for the television broadcasts for the season. They were going to do play-by-play and color commentary for the television broadcasts sitting in Portland, not at the game. And Trailblazers fans like, this is terrible. The quality of the commentary, the ability to know exactly what's happening, the communication with the referees and to the scorers table. We need all that. It heightens the experience of Trailblazers fans who are watching these road games. It's outrageous that someone worth as much money as Jody Allen and with a asset like an NBA franchise that's worth so many billions of dollars to not pay to send your team. And because of this fan outrage, they have reversed course. And I find that inspiring. I do, however, want to know what the Portland Trailblazers announcing team feels about it. Like, did Kevin Calabro actually want to spend 100 days in a hotel? Is this a guy who he's like, oh my gosh, I get to work from home for the whole year? I get to go to my children's softball games? This is amazing. And then he's like, then the fans like, oh, hey, we won. We got you to go on the road. It's like, oh, no. I now have to take 80 flights. I don't know. So maybe, I guess maybe there's a downside. The monkey's paw of this situation.
I got nothing.
Again, I'll just keep talking. Waiting for any feedback.
Shout out the 10 Blazer fans who love this segment.
Shout out Katie Lang getting involved.
That was the best part of everything. I had no idea Katie Lang was such a
oh yeah, it's her and Ian Carmel are the
the two biggest,
the two most famous.
That's a very Fred Armisen, Carrie Brownstein.
Yeah, it's Carrie Brownstein is the I mean maybe the announcing team is happy about it, but I guess we should find out first. Anyways, those were our best things. The opposite of our best thing is our cream of wheat Worst thing. What's the worst thing you saw last week? John, what's your worst thing?
So, excuse me. Hold on. Sorry.
Take a sip.
Take your time, buddy.
It went. I don't understand. I wasn't drinking anything, but
You
something
weren't doing
somehow
anything.
went down the wrong throat, down the wrong pipe. Now it's erased my mind. What was my worst thing going to be? It's Jimmy. It's liquid related. Oh, you want me to restart? So my worst thing is a hero of the proletariat, a hero of the people, falling into shambolic capitalistic marketing schemes, and that's Jimmy Butler declaring that he's going to find a way to make $100 cup of coffee.
we had a listener question, a croissant question here from Magnus. What would you need to pay for Jimmy Butler's $100 coffee? What would have to happen for you? What would have to be part of that experience for a $100 cup of coffee to be worth it?
Do you know how
Chuck, he'd need to make that 3-pointer.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know how like some coffee is made and it's more expensive because a monkey eats the coffee bean and then it excretes the bean because they couldn't digest it.
Yeah.
And then that becomes really expensive coffee, poop coffee.
Yes.
We would have to do that, but with Jimmy Butler. Like he would have to poop the actual beans in front of me live.
Horrifying.
I would need to watch him sift through the poop and then take it, roast each individual one with a match.
You have described, I would comfortably put that at a $20,000 cup of coffee.
Look, he's
looking
for a very specific niche market.
$100 cup. I just like maybe like 5 caviar eggs, like just one, like a 100th of an ounce of caviar on the plate.
It's easy. You just put you give a gold cup, like you would make the cup. Does it come with a
Top Shot?
Yeah, the NFT of Jimmy pooping coffee beans.
I might pay for $100 cup of Jimmy Butler coffee before I paid for an NFT, but that's just my ignorance. That's just where I'm at.
Maybe, and I know Jimmy comes from humble beginnings, but maybe he's been rich for too long, and he got his
he did purchase extensions.
Yeah, and
that's just living your best life.
That's just living it up. If I could throw any hair on my hair, I would. I think that with I'll put a wig on right now. I have no problems with it. I think with Jimmy, he got a little like above. Like I think he's got a distorted sense of reality. He was selling $20 a cup coffee in the bubble, but look, you have.
I guess I should have seen this coming.
Yeah, you had that captive market there.
You had a captive market. You had nothing like no competition.
Yeah,
there were people with ridiculous expendable income, so that worked. You would have to market and only do pop-up because he is doing pop-ups, right? Yeah. He's going to places where rich people are who would pay to tell people that they had $100 coffee. Like they're not paying for the coffee. They're paying to explain to people that they had Jimmy Butler's $100 cup, right? So I can't see it being like a huge, like he's not going to sell tens of thousands of cups of these, but he'll have a pop-up and he'll, do Draymond Green's next wedding or something, and it'll work out.
Yeah, he only has to sell 1/5 the number of $20 cups, right?
Right.
That's some basic economics. Chuck, what's your worst thing?
We got played, and I hate it. Kevin Durant played us all. We're all sitting here, the podcast world, the Potterati. We all have to talk about what he does. If he farts on the internet, #blame KD. We have to talk about it. But the worst part about it is now there's nothing to do but try to figure out how good the Nets are. Like that's what I'm left with. Going, all right, with this team, I have to now calculate TJ Warren's worth on a team with multiple good players. Do I have to watch Ben Simmons with interest now instead of with hilarity and pointing at the screen going, ha ha ha, this is the man who crushed a potential dynasty or at least championship contender? Like I have to do all that. Like what? Like I'm looking at this roster and I'm like, all right, maybe Royce O'Neal is that he'll save them, right? But ultimately, I don't know how good they are.
Going back to the Nets meeting, going back to like the Kevin Durant, Josiah meeting, like what brought them together? What was the thing that caused the reconciliation? I think it was
mutually assured destruction.
No, I think it was mutually assured ganging up on Ben Simmons.
Okay.
I think Josiah said something like, first of all,
we have a scapegoat.
First of all, yeah, I would just love to say, Kevin, you're right about Ben Simmons. That guy, that's our bad. And then Steve, like Sean and Steve would like to say something, and Sean's like, you know what, Ben Simmons being kind of a weirdo. That's our bad. We're gonna do what we can. And then Steve's like, you know what, you're right, Kevin. Your concerns are very valid because that Ben Simmons guy. Woo, what do you do with that? And I think they all just ganged up, made a scapegoat. They bonded over it.
Deflection.
Yeah. And so
I think potentially they just had a meeting and it was agreed upon by all parties that Steve Nash would no longer do TikTok dances.
That's it.
Sometimes it can be as simple as that. If Steve Nash doesn't do TikTok dances, the healing can begin.
I believe that's first do no harm.
My worst thing is the Drew League wrapped up, and my favorite NBA player, DeAnthony Melton, won. He won the Drew League. He was on the Hometown Heroes. They won the Drew League. They'd never won Drew League before, despite he played in it, I believe, for like 8 or 9 years in a row. And this continues the painful tradition of favorite Grizzlies players getting traded away and immediately winning a championship. It was Pau Gasol, then it was Marc Gasol. Now DeAnthony Melton gets off the Grizzlies, immediately gets a ring. By the way, he got his ring fitted for his middle finger. So take that for what you will. I think it portends huge things this regular season, but that's my worst thing. Anyways, before we get to our part fadeaway, where we're going to do our swing players, Chuck's swing players for the Southwest Division, we have one listener submitted question, the croissant question.
John asks, is Kevin Durant the Billy Corgan of the NBA? If Kevin Durant is the Billy Corgan of the NBA, which despite all his rage, he's still just a rat in the cage, which team is the Sigur Rós of the NBA? Keith, will you please explain what Sigur Rós is to Chuck and then answer the question?
Isn't it that music that sounds like ghosts having sex?
Yeah, it is Icelandic made up words. It's very ethereal and post-rocky. It's
Rocky 2?
Mogwai for
they got some mainstream. Yeah, it's Bjorky. It's almost instrumental, but then there's like this sing-songy falsetto. Maybe it's very lyrical falsetto, otherworldly sounding voices because they're singing made up Icelandic words, is my understanding. Nice. So what is the NBA team of that? So obviously Kevin Durant, tempestuous, maybe a little bit moody, but a genius, an artistic genius, just trying to express himself in the palette he's been given, which is the NBA. Billy Corgan, of course, from alternative rock to independent wrestling, trying to express himself. Which team embodies Sigur Rós? I mean, it's got to be a team that is fanciful, right? That's not like too. Maybe not.
It was hipstery, and now I do not consider.
Yeah,
Sigur
a little more
Rós
mainstream
now.
Yeah,
I would essentially consider it yesterday's news.
It is a
team. Okay, perhaps a team that made a ruckus 2 to 3 years ago, but we don't really think of as a contender or all that relevant anymore.
I think they also have to be So
could it be the Lakers?
But I think they no.
They're still doing arenas.
I honestly lean towards like a team that is just doing its own thing, and people are like, "Hey, man, your song should have words that rhyme," and they're like, "No, we're going to make up our own words."
The Cleveland
and they're like, "Hey,
Cavaliers.
your song should be 3 minutes to 4 minutes long." They're like, "No, this song's 9 minutes long, and it's called Ephesus Romp." And
that's the Wizards.
And I thought maybe more the Kings. Because everyone's like, the Kings, man, what a joke. And they're like, what are you talking about? We're trying to win basketball games. very self-serious. And it's like, you know what? You really shouldn't trade away assets where you are in your team building cycle for Kevin Huerter. And they're like, what are you trying? We're going to win 35 games. And so maybe it's the Kings where they're self-serious and they're going outside the box. And it's like, listen, we're going to create our art, not for everybody. But maybe
Sixers doing Harden again. And it's kind of the equivalent of like playing as a Zatar with an EBO sort of.
Oh yeah. Like, what's that sound? I'm using an EBO on a violin and I'm miking it through a bass.
A Leslie organ cabinet.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at Sigur Rós images on Google.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's a guy playing a guitar with a violin bow.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna what are you doing? What are you doing? That's not the point of this kind of thing. Is my understanding. So I'm gonna go with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Also, they have some ghastly looking players that look like they could be on stage with this team.
You nailed it. 100%.
This is a team. This is a band full of Pokus.
Right.
Yeah.
So just like weird looking kind of dudes who are doing weird things that don't make sense, and that's Oklahoma City Thunder.
Avant-garde doing their own thing. Good job, Chuck. Thanks for the question, John. If you out there want your question to be answered on air, or if you want to play fantasy football, listen, the Fantasy Football League is going to be, it might be too big. We'll see how it goes. There might be a run.
How many you
quarterback.
got now?
We're up to 15. So we definitely
that's beautiful.
We definitely need one more to make it 16. But by the way,
someone's going to roster Joe Flacco.
Thanks to Zach Agee, who joined to play fantasy football. Brian Shore joined to play fantasy football. Gil, and also check out this name, Tim Vandenboom. Vandenboom, love it.
Shout out Gil, who has the greatest entry in any, at the greatest beginning of any slacker, maybe of all time. Comes in and immediately says, "KD would never last in one practice with UD." So if you want to if you want me to fall in love with you, come on the Slack and start spitting that flame.
Also, thanks to our newest member, Prashant Raj, for joining, who joined last night. If you wanted to play fantasy football, Prashant, just send me an email and we'll make sure we make you number 16 in the league. Also, if you join our Patreon, you can join the Slack channel, which Chuck just alluded to.
So I think you go 16 teams, start 2 quarterbacks.
16-team double quarterback.
Get completely depraved.
Is in a 32-team NFL league is awesome. Maybe we should do that. Anyways, if you want to get involved with all
Jake
that stuff,
Locker will be drafted.
If you want to get involved with our fantasy basketball, which we'll get that organized in about a month, make sure you join at patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. All right, parfait, gentlemen. What we've been doing in the summertime is looking at one division at a time and picking for each team in that division who is their swing player, Chuck's swinging player. Who is the guy that we are defining as the biggest variable in that team's success? What takes them from a best case or from a worst case scenario to a best case outcome? We're doing the Southwest Division. The team that won the Southwest, we will start there. It is our Memphis Grizzlies, who won the Southwest last year. John, who do you think is the most important factor? Like, we know what we're getting from John Morant. Maybe a fringe MVP campaign once again. Who's the fringe player to you, or the swing player for your Memphis Grizzlies?
I'll let you have your beloved. I'll take instead Brandon Clark. Brandon Clark is in it's a make or break situation for him. I'm a big believer, so I think the added minutes will be and the added importance will benefit us. But I think, if for some reason we got the Brandon Clark of the disaster year, that would be disastrous for the Memphis Grizzlies. So I'll take Brandon Clark.
I hope he's not in every other situation as far as his
like a Brett was that Brett Saberhagen?
Oh wow, I know who that is, but I don't know anything about his actual baseball career. So Brandon Clark is going to be needed a lot. Jaron's an important one because how far he's out, how much he's out in the regular season is going to, be a lot of this Grizzlies story for this season. But when I think about the playoffs, maybe it is if we get the Minnesota series, Brandon Clark. My swing guy, I think it's Zaire Williams, because moving on from Melton and moving on from Kyle Anderson. And
I let you have contract year Dylan Brooks.
No, I trust Dylan. I know what I get from Dylan. For me, it's Zaire Williams. If he can take a year 1 to year 2 leap where he's just increases in every aspect of his game. I think that's what the Grizzlies are depending on. And so I think like if the Grizzlies are going to have one of the best records in the league again, it's going to be because Zaire Williams got a lot better. Chuck, who do you have as the outsider among the three of us? Who's a swing player for the Memphis Grizzlies?
I mean, you need somebody to fill in Jaren Jackson's shoes, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody's got to play for him. That sounds like a Salty Aldama call up. I don't know if that fits.
Is that when Sante gets mad? He's Salty Aldama?
Salty Aldama.
Every podcast I listen to about the Grizzlies, they bring up Santi Aldama, and I'm just like, what are you talking about?
I mean, he had an awesome summer league in Vegas.
Is this just summer league mind poison?
The Grizzlies have a history of taking guys and putting them in their system and having them succeed. So
hearing you say that is amazing.
But
it's like a 2.5 year history.
A brief history.
It's a very brief history.
It's enough of a history for me to think that it's possible.
They went in the world of podcasting. They went a decade without drafting. It was Mike Conley, and then they didn't draft a contributor for
but they got rid of Chris Wallace.
Until Dylan. And it took Mike Conley years to develop.
But yeah, I mean, other than the rookies, that's the guys that you said.
I'm a little. I mean, my true Grizzlies worries are like, what if Desmond Bane can't be this good? I mean, he was like one of the 5th best shooting seasons ever as far as volume of guys attempting at least 8 3-pointers per game and making 43%. Like that doesn't happen. Can you improve? We haven't seen people, shoot 10 threes per game and make 45% unless they're Steph Curry. So like, can Bane get any better? I don't know. All worthy candidates. Let's move to the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks. I'm not putting anyone off the board besides Luka. Who's the swing player for the Dallas Mavericks that gets them maybe to win this division or gets them into back to the conference finals?
I think the depth, wing depth could be a thing. So getting Tim Hardaway Jr. back could be a great one. A good addition. He went out last February. Foot thing. I don't know how that's going, but I hope that one of my favorite Heat players' sons gets to make a contribution and give them some extra life.
This is a crucifixion. Oh, Christian Wood. I think, having that rim runner and potential secondary scorer would be unfathomably important for them. There's other players that they've added that I think are interesting, but I think if this is the definition of a swing player.
Yeah, I mean, if he provides that pick and pop that they lost with Porzingis and is more consistent, he's available every game, and he could
be disastrous for them.
Yeah, like the idea they've already stated JaVale McGee as being the starting center, and you're like, oh, so Christian Wood's the starting 4? I don't know, but like the offensive pop he could provide, could be huge for this team in replacing Jalen Brunson. That's the same with yours, Chuck. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. makes a lot of sense to replace that offensive burst that you lost with Brunson going to the Knicks. I'm going to choose a third. I'm just going to go Dinwiddie, a guy who was really, really good for them last year. And if he can be at that same level, like I thought he was better than I anticipated he would be on the Mavericks, and they're going to need a lot from him. So like if Dinwiddie has a good season, I think they might be able to endure like Hardaway Jr. not being that good, or they might be able to endure Christian Wood being kind of rough. If Dinwiddie's bad, I guess my thought process is who else is dribbling? Like there's no one else to dribble on this entire roster.
Latvian laser Davis Bertans.
Yeah, handle. I was trying to do a depth chart. I got Bertans. I think he's third.
They should have traded for the other redhead, Kevin Huerter, if they needed a dribbler.
Yeah. So yeah, the Mavericks are interesting. Next up, we'll do the Pelicans. I think we can say Zion, right? I mean, he's the swing guy, despite the fact that when he plays, he's an all-star. But
there's no other player on the team.
I think it's Garrett Temple. If they give Garrett Temple minutes, they will continue.
Once they missed him last year, they took off, man.
Jonas Valanciunas, just to piss off Bert. That's who I'm picking.
I have no quarrel with the Viet Valanciunas. I like him as a human. He's a better fit for them than he was for us. Come on.
But like the fit with Valanciunas, and if Zion comes back, that is a huge question mark. We didn't have to see it last year. So, but still, I guess I'm going to put that under the Zion question of like, it's just, man, if Zion plays, all of a sudden this team is like maybe amazing. If he's in and out of the lineup or doesn't play again, well, then like they have a huge question mark for like just their franchise going forward.
What if Herb Jones just starts unhinging his jaw like a boa constrictor and swallows everyone he defends whole?
No way,
year.
Jose doing the same thing in the backcourt. Come on.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't like the Pelicans so much, but
man, I'm so enamored with their roster. It's incredible.
Oh my god.
This one is a little bit harder. Swing player. San Antonio Spurs. What do we do here?
Should we skip it?
I mean, you can say a former Heat player, Chuck.
Josh Richardson is
trade him to the Grizzlies. Danny Green for Josh Richardson. Let's go.
Wow. Yeah. I got nothing. This roster looks depleted. It looks empty. Doug McDermott might lead them in scoring.
I think their only point guard is Trey Jones.
Trey Jones is my pick.
Okay, cool.
I think he's the swing player for the Spurs. It'll be really important to see what he does. I've watched a lot of Spurs last year.
You mean really important to see what he does in fantasy basketball? Is he?
Correct.
Are we supposed to get it? Is he going to get 25 minutes?
Yes. Yeah.
They have the weirdest. I mean, maybe Blake Wesley can dribble a little bit. The rookie. I mean,
no rookies, Keith.
No rookies.
Zoc Collins,
Josh Primo, Josh Primo leap coming up.
Is this team going to trade their like Jakob Poeltl and Josh Richardson, and who's going to get that? Yeah, I don't know. This team looks bereft of talent as Pop posts into his final season.
Long arms of Keldon Johnson, they rest.
Do you remember when the Spurs had an opportunity to trade Kawhi Leonard for Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball, and they chose DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl? Remember that decision that they made?
I don't.
Was Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram on the table for the
that was
that's right. They did it to send him to a different conference. Good job, Spurs. And I do it again. Let's see.
It somehow gets harder.
Let's wrap up with the Houston Rockets. A team that has drafted 7 first-round picks. They have 7 first-round picks over the last 2 seasons on this roster. What are we even calling this? What's a swing for the Rockets? Let's do it like if the Rockets end up not being a 22-win team, if they accidentally flirt with 30 wins, who's the guy? What's the reason for it? Let's change the definition for that.
I think that means they had a huge year, and a leap from Kevin Porter Jr. potentially.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean,
if I'm not allowed to say rookies, I think that's the only option I have.
I do think Jalen Green is going to be massive. I think he's incredible.
Yeah, I feel like I wasn't allowed to say that. Maybe I'm.
I don't know. Like I don't know the arbitrary.
This division breaks the game
parameters that we've set up. We can do whatever we want for the Rockets. I think Jalen Green could be awesome, but I do think Kevin Porter Jr. If I had to pick one for this weird little exercise, he's the swing guy. Can he distribute the basketball? Can he be a point guard? Can he get the ball to people?
He also he could swing them so badly the other way if he can't adjust to a different type of role. That it works for me. Because
like Jabari Smith needs the ball. Jalen Green needs the ball. The rest of these guys, like you think Tari Eason, Jason Tate, Garuba, they'll just hustle and just get the ball. But most of their quote unquote skill position guys, not creators. They're finishers. And so I think Kevin Porter Jr. is a good answer there. Chuck, how you feel about this Rockets team?
My answer, the only player I care about on this team is Boban. I want to see what he gets into on social media. The Rockets will be a disaster, and they might be fun to watch for people who like crazy basketball, but I don't think it'll be. I might watch 1 or 2 quarters of Houston Rockets basketball this year.
I'll be real. I'm like very intrigued. This is like early in the season. I'm going to paint a picture for you. I mean, like Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green with Tari Eason, Jabari Smith, and Şengün. Yeah. That sounds incredible.
I'm going to watch a ton of Rockets.
They might lose by 40, but right now that lineup, I'm like, that seems awesome. It's all first and second year guys outside of Kevin Porter Jr. Yeah. And it seems really cool. But yeah, this is a hard division to play the game with. But those are some of our swing players for the Southwest Division. Anyways, that is the show for this week. Keep your eye out in September, by the way, mild announcement. I'm going to be doing some Grizzlies watch parties of rewatch of games from last season and previous seasons. So keep an eye out for the September Grizzlies playback rewatch month. And then we'll get into those in-person watch parties in Nashville, starting with the season in late October. If you're in the Memphis area, don't miss John Mulaney as he brings his From Scratch comedy tour to the FedEx Forum on Saturday, October 8th. Tickets are on sale now. Get yours today and get ready for some seriously funny jokes. For tickets and information, visit fedexforum.com. If you want to support our program, do that at patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Oh, hey, write us an iTunes review. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Get on there.
We need to get some iTunes reviews, especially
a 5-star.
If you aren't a Patreon supporter, the least you could do is subscribe and follow us on any podcast app. I mean, on Spotify, hit that little follow button. On Apple, hit that little follow button. 5-star reviews only, please. Anyways, you guys are the best. Thanks for listening. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.